When does the fantasy start?
Get to the bottom of the stairs, and it opens out onto a jetty. The lock is broken by ancient bonds. The Never Elf will be lost. The orb kind of rolls out of it, and it is glowing, like white hot. Some elves crawl out of the ground. A spectral form coalesces. In one hand is a large, nasty-looking sword. In the other, a bundle of white-hot vines. You are in this subterranean forest of the dead, and Bear is very keen to go deeper in because he believes he has smelled fresh air. Or fresher air, at least.
I will look at the others and shrug and say, says to go this way.
Why not?
All right. Fair enough.
Cool.
We're
I'll stop
anyway.
following Bear.
And I definitely can't row us back upstream for 9 hours, or however long it would take. So we might as well move forward.
Quite so.
Cool. So, yeah, you head deeper into this forest. The trees become more tightly packed the deeper in you get. They start getting older again. So the script gets less and less common the deeper in you get. After about 10-15 minutes of kind of walking, it's evident that what you were on now is a pathway through the trees. There is only really one person wide, like, winding path through this forest of dead trees, and the other at each side of the path, it's very densely packed.
I want to be like very mindful of listening and watching out for anything popping out of these trees, because obviously we've already fought ghosts and zombies.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine this place is pretty spooky.
It's pretty spooky.
Is it magical?
Out of 10, it's about 8
Oof.
spooky.
Oh shit!
It's pretty spooky.
God damn.
No magic though, John. No. So yeah, that's fine. I will have you roll as and when it's relevant.
Mm-hmm. How long has passed since the
now.
fight?
Since the fight, depending on how long you discussed whether you would follow what Bear's instincts were, if you went pretty much straight on following his gut, then, or his nose rather, then probably only about half an hour.
Okay. My ward of lost souls has faded.
Did you get to use that at all?
Probably.
Did you actually make use of that once you cast it?
Oh yeah, they didn't attack.
One of the
Oh, that was it.
zombies
So, no, I was
attacked.
thinking of it as like an AC shield kind of thing, but I forgot they just couldn't actually attack you because of it. That's cool.
So yeah, you make good time. You think it's probably getting into early evening now, like above ground, like where the sky is and stuff. So yeah, you kind of get to this point where, for a little while, you're almost having to walk sideways down the path in places where it's just so tightly packed. And Gary, give me perception.
I rolled a 6, and that is a great success.
So you obviously being a bit freaked out and kind of being on edge and wary, looking for any potential threats. You see a glint of light off the path slightly, maybe 10, 15 foot off the path to the left.
Okay.
And it makes you you kind of tense instinctively, thinking it's like something coming to you, but then you realise it's merely just something glinting off of the torchlight.
I like elbow
And it looks-
Elias and like point over.
Hmm? I love
Over there, mate.
So you basically see this little amulet on a chain hung over one of the branches of one of the dead trees.
Oh,
And
shiny.
that's what caught the light.
I retrieve it. Is it magical before I touch it?
No, it's not magical.
I take it anyway.
What's it look
Okay.
like?
It's like a coin on a chain. So it's like almost like a St. Christopher type thing. If that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
a little like pressed flat piece of metal. It's almost like a coin with an inscription around it, and then an image.
What is the image of?
I retrieve it. I have a closer look.
Cool. So you can take it off this branch quite easily. It's a silver amulet with a silver chain, and the image that's in the center, where like you would expect to see like the iconography of like the saint for like the St. Christopher medals and stuff, is like scratched. Like it looks like someone has like literally scratched the center out of it, like so you cannot see the imagery anymore.
Defaced it.
Yeah, deface it exactly.
I don't like this, Elias.
What's on the other side?
Yeah.
So around the outside of where the defacing is some elven runes that you can't make out because they're just too damaged. You can see bits of elven runes, but where the scratching has happened, you can't quite make any of the words out. On the other side, very crudely scratched into the metal, is a very basic but kind of to the point, crudely scratched in message, and it simply says, "For those who cared, a waste of life."
I think you should put
That's
it back,
in like
Elias.
a really old dialect of Elven.
I don't like it at all. It's an 8 out of 10 in here. Definitely 8 out of 10 on the spooky factor.
But I don't
Like
think the
grave.
spookiness is coming from the...
Nah, mate,
chain.
you're like grave robbing, ain't ya? Look at ya. With, like your weird defaced amulets and stuff can only mean bad things.
I shrug and put it in my pocket.
All right, then, mate, your funeral.
Okay. You carry on, I assume, deeper. After another 5-10 minutes, the path suddenly opens out, and it's like you are in a sparse kind of like, you know how like at the edges of forests you have like trees much more sparsely dotted about. It suddenly switches from like tight, densely packed trees to hardly any. There's maybe one or two. And you notice, Nyla, you'll notice this because you're obviously probably at the front with Bear, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
When you turn back over your shoulder to kind of look back at the guys as they're coming out of the kind of narrow pathway that these trees are kind of creating, you see that this particular section has potentially like it's what's the word, like walled off. It's like a dry stone wall that stands between the section you are in now and the tightly packed forest. And the top of the wall has like a metal like sign like lying on it.
Yeah.
And on that sign simply says a set of dates. 312 to 412 TG.
Hmm.
That's all the sign says.
So 412 was the end of the Age of Glory, or Time of Glory, whatever it was.
So 412 TG is when people start referring to. So 412 is essentially the year one of the Time of Glory. The Time of Glory lasts from 412 to 1412.
Right. Okay.
And you then go into 1413 is then when the folly was.
Right.
Is that the Age of Pain?
And that's the Age of Pain, which is what it currently is
So-
now. And the year currently is so
About 1,500 years
confusing.
ago. Sign.
it doesn't. It says 312 to 412, and it doesn't say TG. It just says 312 to 412. So the confusing thing with the timeline is that you have actual years, and then you have like the years of the ages. So something for you, Nyla, is that until and actually same with the dwarves as well, until the Age of Pain, the elves and dwarves didn't ever really count time as being, and like the ages didn't affect them. They just counted the years as they were. So AP was the first kind of pivotal change. It was like their zeroing moment, but they still obviously also track the true year. So it's a bit confusing. I will kind of try and explain it a little bit better to you guys at some. So yeah, you notice that as you kind of come out of this tightly packed section, and looking forward to where Bear is now kind of bounding to, you see a huge archway
Of like carved stone or natural formation or
it's carved wooden, kind of very like very similar to the way that the chairs were carved in the kind of council room, as you've dubbed it.
the elf chairs or the
Very kind
dwarf
of
chairs.
the elf chairs, yeah, very like twisting, vine covered stone archway. So
Is
it
there
looks
light
like
on the
wood,
other
but it's
side?
I
carved
gotcha.
of stone.
Oh, okay.
Sorry?
Is there light on the other side?
No,
Has it felt like we've been going uphill?
not really.
Okay.
And how long have since we had the fight, how long have we been walking to reach this archway?
Maybe an hour, just over an hour.
Can I listen and see if I can hear any sound of like life, like birds or whatever
Rodents.
Give me perception.
stuff? That's a 12. That's a success.
Endemic life.
You feel like you can hear like trickling water,
Okay.
and there's like an echo of movement echoing. Like it's really faint. It sounds like it's coming from a very long way away, but there's like an echo of movement, if that makes sense. Like if there was like people moving around, but like several floors up or like a few rooms away.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like
It's
distant,
like almost
distant
like
movement,
distant, but kind of you could hear like
reverberating.
yeah, almost.
Okay, cool. I will relay that to
Presumably-
people, just to be
Right,
aware.
presumably that sound's coming from the other side of the arch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go have a look.
Go
Make sure I
get
say
him.
that in character. And then I do it.
Then I do.
And do that thing.
And then I do
Cool.
that.
Yeah, you can have a look at this arch. The between the wall and the archway is maybe 50 feet of like open land, with only about 10, 15 trees. These are very different in turf compared to the ones that you've come from. The ones that were very tightly packed together did look like the trees themselves weren't as old when they died, if that makes sense.
Right.
Whereas these trees are like, although there's only 10 to 15 of them, they're like big old oak trees, or like, thick elms that are like, they're very old trees that have died.
Yeah.
Have been used.
So more gnarled.
Just
Yeah,
Hell of a lot
they
bigger.
look ancient. Yeah, like they were ancient when they died. If that makes any sense.
Okay.
Just as kind of as you're walking towards it, and at the archway, you definitely taste that kind of sweetness of fresher air as you get to it, and you feel a kind of breeze on your skin as well.
Okay.
And
I will.
beyond the archway is a very tightly wound spiral staircase that just goes up.
Okay. I will draw my greatsword and walk in there cautiously, kind of wave everyone through. That makes sense. Like wave them as if to say, like, come on, let's go.
I do that.
I also do that.
You're heading up out. You're not looking at anything else. What should you do?
Is there anything else to look at?
I look to see if there's anything
just
to look
like
at.
there's just the difference of the different tree, the few trees there are here.
I'm not
Obviously,
saying
that's all
straight
I
up
meant,
the spiral staircase.
Oh, that
I was
is literally all there is. It's an archway that leads to a spiral staircase.
Oh, I see.
I
Sorry,
mean, I'll
my
check
bad.
out. I'll check out a tree and see if there's an epitaph. Or if
There
it's
is.
not.
So
Okay.
with the other trees, they were tree trunks that had like the epitaph written, and they kind of they came from maybe 6 foot up, and they were quite wordy, quite long. The trees are as tall as a tree would be. Like they are 20 foot tall, and the writing is smaller and covers the entire thing.
Is it the more ancient, more difficult to read Elven script, or is it the more modern?
Yes, yeah, it is more. It is the older, more difficult to read stuff. You can make out a few phrases here and there, like bits that refer to life and some very kind of old words that you still use for particular roles, like being a leader or being like someone that is a particularly strong person. Those are kind of quite old words within the language anyway.
Yeah.
So you can kind of guess at some of those. And like, so this oak tree that you go towards, particularly the biggest of the ones that are there, this thing is, like it's tall and it is covered in text. And the bits that you can read, the kind of lower bit down on the trunk bits, from what you can piece together, from your knowledge of Elven, and actually, Elias is quite helpful because obviously he knows a slightly older dialect than Elven to you anyway.
Yeah.
Between you can kind of piece together that this is less an epitaph and more an accounting of this elf's entire life. And it talks about, like, each sentence is like a period of like 50 years, and this tree is covered. Like, it'll be broad strokes, like you can find one section that refers to this elf as being a great leader and a strong man who, rose up and led the people, and that's one small bit, and then it goes on, and it makes you feel like, from the bits you can understand, that this person must have been impossibly old when they died, if this is the grave. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can we make out a name, or it'll work out what a name might be?
Much like the other, there aren't actually any names on any of them. They refer to somebody by the deeds rather than their names. And this one, it is very, it's less reverential. So a lot of the other ones that you saw when they were more recent were very reverential of the person's deeds. This is more, the deeds are who they were and refers to this person as like a hero, a leader, that sort of thing.
How about like what they were a leader of? So does it have like a clan name or anything?
From what you can understand, they were just a leader of the elves. Like they when they're referring, when you have the moments that speak about leadership, it is just of Jun. They led the elf people.
Okay. Is this tree alive compared to the others, or is it still dead?
No, it's definitely dead.
Okay.
Do we get any idea
which
whether
case-
it's like male or female that they're referring to?
They said this one was a alpha
Definitely
man.
male. Yeah, definitely male.
It was male.
Jack, how high up the tree can I read? Like, how far back? I mean, it's difficult if each sentence is 50 years and it's completely covered. But I mean, like, how? So that was the
You
highest
reckon
I can
that if you were to guess based on the bits that you've put together from what you've read, you would say that this person would probably have died pushing like 1,000. At least.
It's pretty old.
And when you consider that the elves, they live to be 300, 400 is really old for an elf. Like, that's why there's no elves that remember the time from before the folly. Same with the dwarves. Like, a really, really old dwarf and a really, really old elf would be someone who's like pushing 400. So there are people, the old elves that exist now, the old dwarves that exist now, they had parents who remembered from before the folly, who told them the stories of when the gods were there and when the magi were powerful. But so they are almost one person removed, whereas obviously the humans are like generations removed. So the wound is a lot more fresh with them as a people, but none of them actually remember. It's like, I can't actually remember a time without internet, but my parents can. It's that sort of thing.
Hey.
Like that's
Hey.
kind of the.
Yeah, I can.
Jack, I really want to punch you right now.
All right, you know what I mean. So yeah, that's kind of. This is ridiculously old. Like the likelihood that this person actually was 1,000, you cannot comprehend of that being possible, unless the elves from I mean, this tree is really old. The writing on it is really old. If this person lived to be 1,000 or more, then and died like 1,000 years ago, then this tree must have stories from before the time before, from like that people didn't know anything about when the magic was a thing. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it literally is from the lost age, where there is no written records of it at all.
Grandall sort of steps up fairly close to Nyla and not in such a way as to be secretive, but definitely in sort of hushed tones. Nyla, look, there's a lot of misinformation about elves as a people. Obviously we don't come in contact with you very much. We don't know a lot about you. Do your people revere trees? Is that a thing?
Well, we're people of the forest, so we obviously respect trees and
Well-
everything, but we don't worship them or anything.
Okay, I'm just concerned because, when this person died, did they find a dead tree that was appropriate, or did they cut one down? Seems a bit.
Uh, uh, this, Grandall, I'm not gonna lie, this is so new to me, so foreign as it is to you. I have no idea what any of this is about. We don't do this. We don't create epitaphs. We don't do this. We don't bury our dead and revere them on trees.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
fair
don't do
enough.
that,
I just-
now, but that doesn't
It was
mean-
more a question. Do you revere them because is this like shocking and terrifying to you that they would cut down trees in order to make this happen, as well
mean,
as it
they're
just being weird in itself?
No, not really. I mean,
No, fair enough.
if we were going to record someone's life, this is as good a way to do it as any. I can't
All right.
imagine that anyone would take this amount of time to carve a tree for someone's life. That's not what we do. This is the thing I'm struggling with, is that someone took the time to record all these people's lives in a place where no one comes.
I am quite curious as to where we actually are if you were to just dig straight up right now.
Well, there's a staircase.
Aye?
There is a
definitely next port
staircase.
of call.
How far up? How tall is this staircase? I'm thinking very, very big. Jack,
Yes.
can you deny or confirm?
I mean, you get to the top.
It doesn't like
And it
go
will-
to the floor above us. It's
No.
like it just goes and goes.
It
And
just goes up and up and up and up and up and up and up.
All right. Well, if you're all done reading, doing nerd stuff, let's go up the staircase. You ready?
Nyla will scribble some notes in her book and a few of the keywords from the epitaphs, and then put her book away. Let's go.
Let's head back up, and I'll lead the way.
Follow.
Yeah.
You climb these stairs for hours. Like hours. There's probably a couple of points where you have to sit and rest on the stairs because it's such a tight little circle that you're going round. It's almost dizzying. It's like, the really, really tight stairs in like
Old churches or something.
old churches, like in
Cathedrals.
like
There's a tube station. I can't remember which one it is, but there's one particular one. It's got like a half an hour spiral staircase. It's the most
Yeah.
claustrophobic experience.
There's
But
quite
that's
a lot
quite
of those.
wide comparatively. I'm talking like single file up this spiral staircase, and the actual width of it, like the diameter of the stair, of the radius from the center, means that you can probably fit this whole thing inside like a pillar
Right.
or a tree trunk.
Is
Are
it just
we, like-
open on the sides? or-
Yeah.
No, it's completely closed in.
Right.
Tell you there's no railing, like a handrail.
Just a really smooth patch
No.
of stone.
No fun sliding back down.
There's falling back down.
But you do eventually get to the top. And at the top, you are met with a smooth ceiling.
Locking the stairway.
Well, it literally just stops.
The stairs keep going up to the point where they just meld into the ceiling above you.
All right, everyone stand back while I hit this with an axe. It's clearly the answer.
Wait. Just a moment. Just a moment before you do that. Just a moment.
What?
All right? I just want to step in front of him and do some, like, dwarven I know stone, tapping it to see, is it hollow, is it actually stone, etc.,
Yeah,
etc.
you
Just
find-
get
Give me
find
traps
get a
and locks.
sense of it. Sorry, Jack,
Give
what
me
do you want?
traps and locks. Give me traps and
Traps and
locks.
locks. Cool. Oh, that's cocked. Oh, that doesn't bode well. Yeah, it's gonna be a failure. It's a 19 on the die.
No, this is just a dead end.
Is it an illusion?
How are you gonna tell?
With my mind brain.
How do
Looking
you
out
do
through his
illusions?
face
Well, no,
eyes.
Illusions is a difficult one. For I can't remember how it is because detect magic doesn't work on illusions, does it?
Defeats the
Does it
point.
not?
No.
Yeah, it's part of.
Makes sense. It
part
makes
of
sense that
Illusions are a different kind of magic altogether, and so the one that lets you detect magic doesn't actually work.
damn.
Oh, excuse me.
87. Do 88 is too far. Illusions. A number of
Illusions.
spells and other magical effects create illusions or make one thing appear as another. Some illusions are more powerful than others, with stronger illusions fooling more senses over a wider area. No illusion can mimic the sense of tactile sensation, however, and interacting with an illusion may reveal the ruse. For example, by pressing a hand or object through it.
I would say I did that.
Hitting it with an
So.
axe.
Yeah, I mean, I've already tapped it and like
Interestingly.
pushed it against it and stuff.
Yeah,
as
no,
part of
it's
checking
not
it,
an
so.
illusion.
I mean, if Grandall's touched it, then obviously that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, it's not an illusionary. Good thought, but no, not illusionary.
I just thought while they're
Illusory.
dicking about with it.
Yeah. He's like,
So Grandall sort of, he does the Captain Picard face palm thing, and he just goes, "All right, Gary, hit it with an axe," and then steps out of the way.
Excellent. And I do.
And
Good job,
he
Gary.
did. And there was much rejoicing.
have you do a roll?
What, attack roll, damage roll?
Yeah, attack.
Oh, I freaked out then. I thought I was falling, and then I remembered I was on my rocking chair.
I wish we had cameras.
Wow.
Living on the edge.
I had a super freak out, and yeah, I thought I was going arse over tit, and then I remembered. Okay, what do we got? So, battle axe, +7 to hit. That's 22.
Nice.
Jesus Christ, man.
Jesus
Um,
Christ.
Give me...
Potato salad. That is 5. +5. +8. No, start again. It's 5 + 3, which equals 8.
I was going to say 5 + 5 does not
Welcome
equal
back
8.
to the math.
Mark does
the
bad
mathcast.
maths podcast.
Yeah.
Mathcast. You hit it.
Wow.
That was what the
is that what the book says?
Yeah, I can't find the rules. So I can
That's
make
what
them
the book says.
You hit it, and dust falls from above,
Ooh.
where you just take a chunk out of the stone. Give me perception, everyone.
I can do that.
Ooh.
I can't do that. I rolled a 19.
Great success.
I got a 4, which is a great success as well.
I got
you're
a
both
regular
pretty sure-
success.
So you're both pretty sure you didn't see Gary, unfortunately, because you got dust in your eyes, and so did you, Nyla. You were like, the dust.
My eyes. The goggles do nothing.
But the two of you that got the great successes, Grandall and Elias, both think they saw that the ceiling moved a bit when you hit it.
Okay, I want to have a look
That
around
doesn't
for
seem right.
Gary,
mechanisms or
Gary,
secret
try
buttons. that kind of thing.
sliding it to the side.
Oh,
Can
all right.
I do a detection while he's doing that?
Cool.
I'm going to try to
Nice.
strengthen it up
Like
and or
so you're
sideways.
going to put flat palms on the ceiling and then just kind of
Ooh.
push it.
Yes.
I got a 3
Yeah,
for the
I'm
detection, which
basically-
is a great success as well.
Cool. Let's see
I'd-
what he gets in his.
You wait for me.
I am.
Yes, do a strength.
Oh, I'm going to do a strength. That's a great
Be a
success.
strong boy.
unsurprisingly.
You say you're
That's
gonna,
a
but we were
5.
waiting for it.
That's a
so yeah,
5.
you. So what? And you're pushing up primarily, or pushing to the side?
I want to
primarily?
push up, and then if that doesn't work, either slide it side to side or back to front.
Cool. You're gonna jiggle it. So yeah, the ceiling moves.
Oh, good.
What, forward, backward, up? Is it like a trapdoor
Yes.
situation?
Oh, you wiggle it.
So it moves up, and it moves up a little bit, and then stops, and then you kind of move it to side and back and forward and stuff, and it all kind of moves in any of those directions a little bit, but not a lot.
Right.
With your great success on observation, and your knowledge of traps and or locks, you think, Grandall, this might be a maze door.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a specific combination of ridges and gaps that you have to. There's like a specific set of directions you have to move it in
order to get it to pop
to
open.
get it to pop open.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a way that I could? I'm trying to think. Is there a way that I can try and help Gary by guiding him while he pushes it? But
Is it super heavy?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're the only
yeah,
person who can lift it.
I assumed that I wouldn't be able to just do it myself.
I'm just going to be forcing it as hard as I can and just trying to smash it against. If it moves in a direction, I'm smashing it. So unless someone tells me that there's a puzzle going on here, I'm going to break it.
I mean, you could try forcing it.
Give me a
I
strength
am.
roll.
Ooh, that's a 3. That is a 3. Well, 18 and a 3, but I get advantage. That's a great success.
Well, you there's a lot of dust coming from the sides around this this stone you're pushing on. But eventually, just the sheer brute force, you manage to pop it out of the the ridges that it's in,
Right.
and it just suddenly gives way, and you basically just throw it up and away from you.
Excellent.
And there is screams.
Oh shit.
Oh.
Not what I was expecting.
Yeah. Color me surprised.
I say screams. There is one scream, and then
Oh, that's fine then. We're not bothered about one
and
scream.
then a lot of I believe that the phrase that that Johnny coined a few episodes ago was weapons-based kerfuffle.
Good one. Are they feminine screams, masculine screams, a mix of the two?
So the scream of shock and fear, but was a feminine scream. The shouts and kind of weapons-based clanging and
Kerfuffling.
stuff has a mixture of both male and female voices. And you hear the sound of footsteps running towards where you are.
Is it light?
Oh yeah, light
Up the top?
floods in.
Okay, I'll poke my head up.
You see people, and one of them shouts "scorn."
I'll just be like, "You're right. Sorry.
Oh my god!
Didn't mean to
This
make.
can only end well.
Didn't mean to make a fuss.
Sorry.
Apologies. My name is Gary, and these are my friends. And we've
By this
just
point, he's been stabbed 5 times.
Well, by this point, there are 5 half-dressed but well-armed men and women stood around the hole that is in the floor of the building that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
sorry to have broken your floor. Didn't realise where this staircase was leading, to be honest.
The people looking down this hole at you are supremely confused. They're looking down this tight spiral staircase and they see a scorn with a dwarf, what looks to them as a scorn, next to a dwarf, and then behind them is a tiger. and they're just like, what? Well,
Don't
one of
mind
them
the
just
tiger.
looks. They all go on. Sorry.
Don't mind the tiger. He's fine. He's called Bear. He's lovely. He's a real pussycat, really. Like
There
I
had
said,
never been such a herd before.
you know,
One of them just holds his hand up, and they just look at each other. So he kind of shushes you with his hand, and they all look at each other. And he looks down at you and goes, "Where the hell did you come from?"
There's like a cavern underneath us. We went exploring. We found a staircase. Where have we come out? Is this the windmill still?
At that, Gary.
The windmill. You tell me you've come from the windmill.
Yeah.
Originally, aye.
That's over a
Yeah.
day's ride away.
That sounds about right. We went mostly by an underground river.
I think you'd all better both come up the stairs, please. Out of the tunnel to the depths of the earth. Come along.
All right. No, and I do dust myself off. Are you not saying you didn't know there was a staircase under your floor?
Yes.
Not very
Grandall's gonna
observant.
just, as discreetly as possible, like, secrete a dagger up his sleeve just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Where exactly are we?
You're one of the ruins. I'm not telling you until we have decided whether or not you are enemies or what you are doing or what you're here for. Come up the stairs and I will take you to see the leaders here.
I mean, maybe tell us who you are, because we don't know if we're your enemies at all. We might be. Be nice to find out.
I mean, I'm
yes,
not sure
I'm-
that's what you should lead with, Grandall, but...
Well, you know what I
I
mean.
get your point, yes.
All right, we'll
I-
find out if we're allies.
I also understand what you're saying. I will let you and people that are frankly paid better than I am decide this.
Look, if it's about
and
the
he-
floor, then we can. repair
Gary, I
it.
don't think it's about the floor.
I'm really sorry.
So you kind of come up from this set of stairs.
Can
and
someone
you
help me
walk-
get Bear out of the hole, please?
Oh, Bear has
Yeah.
the stairs. Literally go all the way up.
Oh, okay, that's
So
fine.
the
I thought
stairs. It looks like there's supposed to be a hole here, and the stairs go all the way up to the
stairs
level.
reach up to the floor that we just pushed our way through.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's okay then.
exactly.
He's
Bear
fine.
is out. He's out first. Essentially, he pushes past everybody to get out. Like winds around everyone. As you kind of are led up, you're in like a rudimentary camp in a ruin. So there's no ceiling. There's no second floor. One of the walls is partially knocked down, and there's kind of camps. There's like bedrolls and a couple of tents, and one very like white-faced, like pale, shaking woman is kind of sat in a corner being comforted by one of the other members of this group. And you think she probably was the one that...
Was sat wherever Gary came up.
Yeah, and there was suddenly a stone floor slab flung through the air past her. So you're led out of this kind of run-down ruin to some larger tents. So it looks like there is a bigger tent where the people or person in charge has set up there for the night, and this kind of the ruin is where the less important people have been they've put their tents in there because it's kind of more sheltered, and their tents just aren't as good. And there's a couple of kind of campfires that are... did I say light floods in? Light
Yeah.
does flood in, but it's not sunlight, it's firelight, because it's the middle of the night right now. Sorry, I meant to say that to you, but then I realised that light floods in, which it doesn't. I'll edit that out, it's fine.
Light creeps slightly in.
Yeah, it's like it's brighter than it was in the tunnel. So yeah, you're led out to this rudimentary camp. There's horses tied up to like stakes that have been hammered into the ground. And as you're led out of the building, you have a view across the salt wastes. And you guess from your knowledge of geography that you are somewhere along the road that leads from the crossroads that you had been at before. So it's just south of the windmill. There's a crossroads, and you reckon you're along the road that leads to the east. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So, yeah, you have this amazing view of the salt flats. You can kind of see in the distance the old citadel, just right on the horizon. In the dark, and the sky is really, really visible. It's completely clear this evening. No clouds at all. Or the sun. The stars. Is what I meant to say. The stars are all out, and it's actually quite bright for like kind of the time of day. You'd expect it to be darker. Nyla, this is the first time really that you've been out at night since your new gifts, and you are amazed at how bright it is, that you can see completely clearly.
I'm just like looking around, taking it all in. Just like, oh wow, it's so beautiful.
You are a few days past the full moon, and your vision is amazing. You can see as if it was daytime, as obviously is the point.
Yeah. I'm just like taking it all in, just completely in awe.
And you're led towards this large tent, and a woman appears from the tent. She is joined by she's a tall, slender, dark-haired woman. She's wearing essentially a nightdress, and she has a blanket over her shoulders. She looks tired and annoyed. And with her is a very tall, broad man who is wearing like a pair of almost like long john type things, bit like loads of kind of blonde chest hair and a shock of blonde hair, and he comes out of the tent with her and looks similarly frustrated, with being, as you assume, woken at this time of day, you are kind of pushed before these two. The guy that found you and led you here gives a brief explanation of what happened, to looks of, frankly, disbelief from both of them. And Elias, as you look at them, this pair, you have a dull thud in the base of your skull.
Can I make a guess as to who it is?
You're not 100% sure. Give me intelligence or perception.
Well, we were told that we were going to be met by someone.
You were. If you want to make that assumption, then you haven't got to roll. But yeah,
I mean, it's a woman.
That is a woman,
and she's magic, and there's not
One
many
of
of
them
them. It's a 5. It's a great success.
She is definitely, like, you're getting the tingles from her.
Oh yeah.
I bet he is.
Thing apparently we're referring to that as, but also him.
Double tingles. That's more my speed.
Double tingles.
Now it's a party.
Oh yeah. Looking forward to the weekend now.
Hail and well met. I am Elias. This is Gary, Nyla, and
Boy.
Grandall. This furry fellow is Bear.
Don't forget Kroll. Come over here, Kroll. We all
Oh,
forgot
Kroll.
you were here.
I forgot about Kroll.
I forgot about Kroll.
Yes.
Kroll's kind of like in the background. He's like, "Hello."
I was also worried that Gary was going to assume that their names were Hail and Well Met.
So the guy steps forward and he says to you, "Hail and well met, also friends, I assume."
Aye, let's go with that for the moment.
I can't see why we would be anything other.
What business brings you here?
We kind of were exploring underneath the windmill.
The windmill. Yes, of course you were.
I mean,
We get that
It
a lot,
happened.
apparently.
When were you exploring beneath the windmill?
just after the.
You must have been underground for days.
Today.
No, it was just after the Scorned attacked. We went on a little recon mission.
So, I mean, the fact that you know the Scorn attacked is interesting. So you're saying that you have been underground for less than a day?
About a day.
You've travelled
About a day.
a day, and you've travelled from the windmill to here.
I mean, a portion of it was on a boat.
I mean,
On a
we'd probably
river.
be sharing your disbelief, but we don't know where we are.
You're just over a day's ride away from the windmill.
Yeah, we were on a boat for a number of hours, travelling
Aye.
downstream.
That was far
Underground
from
river
far.
at speed.
Fascinating.
It
There's an
was kind of
underground river
boring,
leading
actually.
from the windmill to here.
I mean,
It
it travels further up from the windmill, but we travel downstream, so
and you have to
Must come
go
from
through some
light.
caverns and then, a long time up a big ass staircase.
Fascinating.
and
No, again, it was quite dull.
who may you be, sir?
I
Yes.
am Ramiro Martinez.
You say that as if we should recognize
I
it?
mean, do I recognise
Not
the name?
necessarily.
Not that I would, but
Martinez, you recognise the surname.
okay.
He was the captain of the windmill when you arrived. Darius Martinez was the name of the captain of the guard at the windmill, who died in the battle.
Yeah, we liked him. He was cool.
And he was cool.
Oh no.
So you must be a relation to Darius.
Yes, he is my father.
Right.
He-
Aye, good chap.
he-
We
was he
like
the-
him.
He was the captain. Was he?
Yes,
And
yes,
I look
he
at Elias.
Yes, Gary.
Yes, captain of the guard at the windmill.
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Well,
Why?
well, I'm afraid that we have some bad news. He was cut down in the battle. I saw it myself. I avenged him almost immediately. So, you saved you the job, eh? Eh? But yeah, unfortunately, he is no longer with us. I'm afraid, sir.
He is completely still and completely silent and looks just into like the air above you all. And the woman who until now has been completely silent behind him steps forward and puts her hand on his shoulder and kind of mutters something under her breath into his ear, and he like relaxes slightly. But Elias, you felt like magic building.
When they touched.
No, when he went still.
All right. Okay.
And as soon as she touched him and started speaking to him, and he tensed, it kind of like the kind of crackling energy almost, like dissipated as well, as if he was like about to try and cast a spell, but then decided against it. But like, it didn't look intentional. If you know what I mean. So she will kind of mutter that into his ear and kind of step to his side, and she will look at you all and say, "And what of Malachi? Did he
Malachi
survive
is
the battle?
he's fine.
She's fine.
She's fine.
She's fine.
Yeah.
One of the perks of the job, downsides of the... I don't really know whether it's good or bad.
It depends what you're into.
He doesn't.
What an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to mind.
That's certainly true.
You must be Elias.
I am. You must be Mistress Morgana.
Yes. Although I'm nobody's mistress anymore, technically. I have no pupils currently. Dear Ramiro here recently graduated, if you will.
In fiction, I want you to all know that as soon as she said that she had no pupils,
Mate,
Gary
me too.
was trying to look at her eyes and such.
Yeah,
to
I
not be
held back
noticeable.
from making a stupid
But,
joke about it.
Really
Amazing.
confused
I just didn't know
look
what
on
that
his
had to
face.
do with being someone's mistress. I don't get it.
Were you then like,
Oh, pupils. Is there somewhere we could maybe sit down, have a drink, have a bite to eat, discuss this further? I mean, we have been on our feet for a number of hours.
how about? And she gestures to a different, to another tent. Go and sleep, and we shall speak more in the morning over some breakfast. We are heading to the windmill anyway. You can travel with us.
Awesome sauce. Let's do that.
All right.
Fascinating. And she kind of leads the other man back into their tent. And
Never
kind
before have I heard a wizard use the words "awesome sauce."
The magic words lost to time.
Yeah. Where did you hear this phrase?
Hi everyone, thanks for coming back for a new episode of Nothing Invented, Nothing Gained. Quite a lot happening this week. Hope you're enjoying it so far. If you are, obviously don't forget to like, comment and subscribe on all our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. Speaking of, actually, keep your eyes open this week as I'm going to be dropping some drawings from my notes. I think that'd be something interesting for you guys to see, kind of a bit of my process, see some of the drawings I do for the dungeons that the guys have been in so far, so from the previous episode. So hopefully you'll enjoy that, and if you do, obviously let me know, comment on the posts, and as always use #Nancast. Next episode is coming out on the 12th of June, and I suppose until then, enjoy the rest of the episode, and yeah, enjoy.
I have a question for you, Nyla. Since you're the leading authority on elves, for obvious reasons, I find it quite confusing when you say that the elves don't revere trees and whatnot. It's my understanding that that your ancestors somewhat worshipped the Great Green Mother. Is that true?
Jack, help.
So, the Great Green Mother
Mm-hmm.
is a fairy tale. So, from Nyla's point of view,
Yeah.
the Great Green Mother is a fairy tale. She was the nymph that seeded the forest.
Right.
Let me find.
It was my
Different
understanding that
segments.
the Great Green Mother is the spirit of the forest, and she also gave elves their long life. I wasn't aware that it was just merely a fairy tale, but it was my understanding that her life energy gives life to the forest, and as such you worshipped her. So it seems illogical to me that you don't actually, therefore, kind of hold the trees in high regard.
I mean, I'm not saying we don't love our forest. Of course we do. It's our home. But it's. I mean, do you worship the man who made your house
I don't
or
really.
your city?
No, but obviously, how we view, and by we I mean humans, how we view kind of our gods and our religion. I can only view it from the same respect that it's.
I'm not saying that maybe she was very important a while ago, but from my perspective, she's a story. And not even a very good one. I mean, I told you about Berethir, right? He's the best, but she's more of a children's tale.
I wasn't in any way disbelieving what you were saying. It's just obviously,
I feel like some of your information about us might be out of date, Elias.
I think some of my information probably predates what you might know to be true.
Possibly. I mean, I'm only
Again,
135 years old. I've not been alive for that long.
That may come across as a bit of a criticism, but I didn't mean it as much. But obviously, I'm used to reading very ancient texts. So obviously, the information contained within that.
Well, we don't really hold on to history like that. We sort of tell stories, pass information on verbally. There are some written records, but most of the time, we change with the times as to what's relevant. I mean, the thing that I'm searching for is something no one had heard of before, or no one in general parlance would have heard of. It's another legend, another story. There are lots of those. Most of them are told to children.
I kind of haven't. I don't know if it's founded in any way, but the text that was on the tree that would imply that this gentleman was over 1,000 years old. It seems more likely that it's probably several people that over the years the stories have kind of merged into it being believed to be one person.
I mean, it would certainly make more sense. Maybe it's just a general history of elf life, leaders. I don't know. It's nothing I've ever heard of. And if there was such a long-lived elf, I mean, that would be a thing of legend.
I find it fascinating, and it's so very different to what I know and what I believe to be kind of, true.
Well, you and I have both had our minds blown on this little boat trip, Elias. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen things that I've never heard of, and the dwarf elf connection and this whole graveyard. This is, I mean, it's fascinating. Don't get me wrong. But it's so outside my knowledge of my own history that it's kind of terrifying. I feel like I don't know my own people. And I'm as interested to learn about it as you are. I mean, I was sent on this trip to try and find a thing, but I feel like there's way more information here than I can really fathom. And you're an academic, so I appreciate your help in trying to understand it.
I am by no means an expert on the elves. I'm the first to admit that.
Well, you don't need to be an expert to have a thirst for knowledge.
I mean, I know you seem to have you seem to believe you found what you were looking for, but I'm still hoping that you travel with us to the city.
All it's done is given me more questions.
I'd very much like you to meet Tackets. I think he could probably explain a lot more of this than I could.
Is he the one who owned the thing that Grandall had?
Owned is a strong word. He retrieved it from the.
I mean, I'd certainly be interested to find out where the hell he found it, because maybe he knows what it is.
He
I'm
told me what he believed it to be. I know where he retrieved it from.
This thing, this small box with a flower in it, is supposed to be some kind of holder of information about our past, the past of my family. And it's a flower in a box with a butterfly on it. I mean, what the hell does that mean? And now, from opening the box or opening the ball, it's now talking about possibly danger to someone I care about. How I'm just so confused. And believe me, I will be coming with you to the capital, because if this person is truly in danger, I need to help them.
I mean, it seems like he was there some time ago, but hopefully we can find some more clues.
Yeah. Anyway, if I remember anything, if I remember any children's story that I think may be relevant, I will let you know. But it sounds like you know more about my past than I do.
I know some snippets about some very specific information. Feel free to talk to me about Berathir whenever you want. I'm sure the tales that I know you're very much aware of.
Yeah. Well, maybe later. I should probably get some rest.
Yeah, I think it's bedtime. It's been a long day.
I'm gonna walk away and
shit.
get. Yeah, it was a fucking horrible day.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the time that Berathir. No, I'm not gonna. I've got a list of all Berathir's books, and I was looking for one, and there is one that's pretty similar, but I'm not gonna go into it.
So you have some rest. You're shown to a relatively large tent that you can all sleep in quite happily. There, you do notice there is a guard placed outside, which, you know, it's probably fair enough. They don't really know who you are. And morning comes round. You get a few hours sleep, and the skies are clear. For the first time, there are no clouds in the sky. First time in a while that you've seen a blue sky. Because it's been pervasively grey since you left Clontum, actually, some weeks ago. And there's a fresh, cold breeze that blows down from the north that, despite the bright sun, makes you pull your clothes slightly tighter around yourselves. You're shown to a campfire with some pots bubbling on it. You're offered some hot tea, and shortly after, your hosts, shall we say, join you. Dressed this time, which is probably more appropriate. Mistress Morgana, she wears not robes like the the magic users usually do, but instead she wears a simple blood red dress. Deep V at the front and back, long sleeves that cover her hands, and just straight down. Not really figure hugging or anything, just kind of a basic hangs off the shoulders. Cinched at the waist with a simple cord that has a couple of pouches bulging with leaves and other oddments. Her hair is pulled back, a silver clasp pinning it just behind her ears, and she sits with you and smiles, warmly accepting the tea offered by the member of her retinue that offers it, and she drinks from it before beginning to speak. Ramiro is also dressed similarly unusual in that he's not wearing magic user's robes either. He wears a simple tunic and breeches. There's a sword tied around his waist, hanging from a leather belt, and the tunic, despite the cold northern wind that blows, he has short sleeves and a almost open chest. His wild curly blonde chest hair poking out, and he similarly takes the tea and sips at it thoughtfully whilst you settle into each other's company.
Is he also wearing red?
No, his clothes, his tunic is a very pale yellow, and his breeches are kind of brown. So, Elias, tell me of the battle.
I regale her with the story of the battle. Obviously, I don't think it'd be particularly interesting for me to go into detail.
Do you mention how you set the forge on fire?
I think I'd just literally tell her everything. I don't think there'd be any reason not to.
It is worrying that they managed to get the drop on us like that.
We got enough of a heads up to put up some basic defences, but yeah.
Well, it is troubling indeed that the curse of the boar still inflicts the Scorn people. I thought Malachi had managed to stamp out the last of that during the uprising. Troubling news indeed.
The curse of the boar?
Yes.
What was that?
The Scorn people have a blood disease that only the Scorn are susceptible to. It gives them superhuman abilities to transform themselves into hybrid creatures the most prevalent amongst them are the boars, and it is my belief, at least, that this is because the other lycanthropic bloodlines died out, the boar being the toughest, sturdiest that can survive in pretty much any condition and climate. It has taken well to the salt flats. They are werebores. They cultivate, or they used to cultivate, this disease amongst the clan lines, and would inflict it upon the young as a reward for a father's or mother's good deeds in battle.
Is this all Scorn everywhere?
It's a bloodline, the clans of the Scorn. As I say, it's the most prevalent of the bloodlines. The Boar tribes are the most common, and were the ones that we specifically were trying to stamp out during the uprising years ago. As I said, I thought that they had managed it. That was the main reason why Malachi had to act so quickly when he fought the chief, to prevent him from being able to transform into a creature like the one you fought.
I see.
He wasn't that tough, really.
Well, if they have managed to recover the bloodline from being all but destroyed, I would assume that this is one of the lesser specimens, a weaker bloodline, an incomplete strain. This news really is troubling. I must get word to Theobald.
I mean, we are travelling back to the city, so I mean,
I may give you some letters.
I was going to say, I do plan on meeting with Theobald potentially.
The fact that you know who he is speaks volumes. You realise that, right?
I guess. I mean, I know he's a much more powerful magic user than even my mentor.
Who do you serve under?
That'll be Tackets.
Her eyebrow raises, and Ramiro looks up from his tea. Tackets took a pupil? Now, why didn't I hear about that?
That's a good question.
You must be something special.
I mean, even Theobald seemed to think so.
Don't let it get to your head.
Maybe
That's
a little
how
bit.
the last one died.
I throw my arm around Elias. So, he is pretty special, this one. Shot a dog once.
Jesus.
And now it makes sense why you keep him around. Adorable.
Do you know Tackets particularly well?
You could say that. When I was a girl, first travelling to the city to be assigned a master, he passed on me. I was supposed to be taught by him, and I didn't meet some unspoken criteria for him, and as such I was sent away instead.
Did you serve in the city? Or
No, I have been at the Eastern Watchtower for years now, since I was a girl. My former mentor, when he passed, I simply carried on, picked up where he left off. That was 5 years ago.
I'd be more than happy to deliver some letters to Theobald.
Thank you. I'm sure they'll get where they're supposed to go. This underground river that you spoke of, I sensed your dwarven friend being slightly cagey about the subject.
I'll just look at Grandall and Nyla for that one, I think.
Me? KG?
What did you say your name was?
Me? I didn't.
Oh, I thought that we were introduced. Apologies.
This is Grandall.
Ah.
He's
Aye.
Well,
he's rather secretive.
well, Grandall,
Aye.
I would like, if Elias is deferring these questions to you and you, Nyla, should we be concerned? Should I be asking my men to replace the flagstone? Seal away what's down there? Ask no questions? Or is this something that the Order need to look into in greater detail?
I'm going to look at Elias with sort of like, I don't know who this woman is. How much can we tell her kind of face?
I just shake my
Yeah,
head.
like maybe wouldn't have shared my name, but thanks for that.
I'd already introduced you.
Yeah, you had.
I hadn't noticed. Fair enough. The point remains. I still wouldn't have shared my name.
I just shake my head ever so slightly when you ask that, Nyla.
I'll pull down my hood and I'll look at her and say, Grandall and I have learnt an awful lot about our people's history down there.
Our people's history.
Aye.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is one of the things we learned.
It's been a very interesting few days for me. But
I mean,
all that's down there is the dead.
Ramiro, go seal that away. If Holgrim catches up with us as quickly as I expect he might, there'll be hell to pay if he finds it.
I sense little or no magic down there, so I'm not sure if the Order would be particularly interested.
just in terms of
You are astute.
just in terms of being secure about it, I would have recommended to board it up anyway. So I think go with that.
Yes.
Although there was a ghost down there, so
Say,
maybe.
Gary.
Goddamn Gary.
Past
Maybe
tense.
like-
God
Was.
damn it, Gary.
I think that, as you may have guessed, Elias, we may have given our Order monk the slip. Just for a bit. He will be catching up with us at some point today, is my best guess. We're going to make sure that nobody else goes down there for now. Keep this amongst the guild itself. The Order can find out if we feel the need to share the information at a later date.
Try to have the Order involved as little as possible.
You are a smart one.
I learned that from Tackets.
Yes. He's one of the lucky ones. His man, what's his name?
Emery.
I forget. Emery, yes. One of the few good ones. But I suppose that's what happens when one of your children is taken away for testing and you never see them again.
Didn't know that.
I hear lots of rumours. It's one of my special skills, shall we say.
When do you leave for the windmill?
Shortly. Once Ramiro has finished sealing away that passageway, we can get going. I'd like to be out of Holgrim's reach as much as possible if we can. It's insufferable having to sneak around constantly. But love is love. I'm sure I can rely on your... What's the word?
Discretion.
Of course you would know that, little one. Yes,
Aye.
discretion.
Not really a fan of the phrase little one, though.
Apologies. You are, however, remarkably short compared to me.
Well, this has been a fun conversation. Are we heading off?
Yes, I have some spare horses. Some of my men can walk. Yep. If there's anything else anyone wants to ask her, we can kind of cut forward to you riding to the windmill.
Yeah, as we
Yeah,
ride,
sure.
I want to chat to Elias's back again, but I'll let someone else do something first.
I just want to ask her if she's heard anything. Well, I'll probably do it in character. Morgana, I keep hearing rumblings about the order in the city. Do you have any more information on what may be happening? I say very vaguely.
Someone told you about conscription. Yes, I heard about that as well. You are an interesting one, Elias. You find things out that most men and women do not know about at all. Yes, the Order is being rather more militant in the rounding up of people with potential, as they call it. The Guild believe that they are trying to make us into weapons again. Like shortly after the Folly. There are always two sides of the Order. The ones who believed that magic was an evil thing that should be controlled by people who could not use it. And then there was the other side that believed that magic was a tool, and that, like all tools, it was only dangerous in the wrong hands, and as such, it was their duty to protect the people who could use these tools and stop them from misusing them. Unfortunately, in recent years, the first of the two sects has been growing in power within the Order.
It's very worrying.
There are rumors of war. Every time I hear a rumor of war, it is with a different set of people. I have come to believe that someone, maybe the Order, is spreading these rumors of war, telling each individual party that some other set of people is planning to take the battle to them for the first time in years, and then is telling the next set of people that some other set of people is planning to bring the war. For some reason, there is some section of people somewhere in the city, I think, most likely, who wants Talanost to descend into a war-racked continent of constant battle. I don't know why that is. But someone has decided that the weapons that this war will be fought with are people like us.
You're just having this conversation while they ride along, yeah?
Yeah.
So Grandall has been surreptitiously riding close by and listening in. At this point, he's just going to lean over and say, have you heard anything about the magic users that are being killed?
Excuse me?
Aye. We came across a fortune teller who truly had the gift of foresight, and she was murdered. We weren't able to stop it. She claimed it was the Crow Man. We chased after someone in a costume. Obviously, we don't know who it was, but according to an order monk who happened to be there at the time, it's not the only mysterious death of someone with magical abilities.
A fortune teller?
Aye.
Covered in tattoos?
Yes.
I said she would get herself killed if she went south. Who was after her? Who was the man, the order monk?
It was...
That was Escobar Almos.
yes.
Almos. Brother Almos.
Yes.
Aye.
What's he got to do with all of this?
Apparently he's the one investigating the mysterious deaths of magic users.
He did seem like a bit
Or
of a
like
douche,
he's the one
frankly.
perpetuating these bloody murders.
Well, I mean, the thought occurred to me as well, but the fact is, we did chase somebody else with him. So...
This is a tangled mess. A web of lies. The city is the center. When you get there, if you pluck enough of the strings, maybe the spider will come crawling to get you. Be careful.
I very much intend to go as unnoticed as possible.
Aye. And that's my usual way of doing things anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to be following Grandall's lead on that one, I think.
Well, if you'll excuse me, there is much I must talk to Ramiro about. We should be coming to the windmill in an hour or two. You can see it in the distance now. And she kind of spurs her horse on to trot alongside Ramiro, who is kind of leading up the party.
She seems
What do you think of these two, Elias?
They seem
Do you think
fairly...
we can trust them?
Yeah, I would believe so. She's... judging by the colour of her robes, she is an incredibly powerful mage.
That doesn't mean she's trustworthy.
It doesn't, but people in the guild don't tend to work their way up the ranks without being at least a decent person, I believe.
All right. I mean,
I obviously wouldn't
it's a
give her
person
too much.
doing magic.
Well,
I defer to you as the expert in the group,
I'm reluctant to give her any more information than we've already given her, but
That was going to be my question to you: is
Aye,
how much can we tell them? How much can we trust them with?
How trustworthy are they?
I've shared as much as I care to.
All right.
I think we should save a lot of our questions for the three magic users I do very much trust in the city. But I don't think there's any harm in finding out the state of things between the Order and the Guild.
Certainly doesn't seem to be good.
Are we alone, Jack?
You're kind of riding together in a little convoy almost. There's a couple of the slower wagons that are kind of down the road a bit behind you, wherever you've kind of ridden on ahead. Obviously, being able to ride faster. You're clumped together, the four of you, with Bear running alongside. And then, like, Morgana and Ramiro are up quite a way ahead with, like, a couple of, like, guardsmen, like, armoured guardsmen, outriders almost.
Okay.
But the bulk of the actual force is actually walking with the wagons, and they're quite a way down the road.
Yeah, I mean, since it's just the four of us, I don't see this lightly, Grandall. But to not put too much of a finer point on it, I'd rather die than that item you carry fall in the wrong hands. So just remember that if things turn.
Duly noted.
Got it. Kill Elias. Understood. And I'll wink.
If it's going to get stolen, kill Elias.
Excellent. I could do that.
That's what that means. No.
Well, I mean, Gary. In all seriousness, if things do turn, make sure Grandall makes it out.
All right. Okay. I could do that. I'll protect your little fella, would I? Eh? Ruffle his hair.
I'll punch you in the knee. I'm not joking.
I know you're not, mate. I know you're not.
So you say that? It sounds like you still think I am.
So, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, Nyla, did you want to talk to Elias or something?
No.
Okay.
I did have questions, but I'm rethinking them.
Okay. So you'll make it back to the windmill. The most of the stuff has been cleared out now. They've had a whole another day, and almost a whole another 2 days now of cleaning up. There's a couple of guys working on repairing the roof of the forge. There's some people working on like a new set of gates that haven't got big holes out of it and stuff. And you are greeted warmly by the folks. If a little confused, they're a bit like, how did you get out of here? Like, why are you with them? What happened? You were here yesterday. So a couple of people that are the more astute members of the tower, of the kind of the fort, are a bit like, what? But otherwise, it is warm greetings from everyone. Malachi comes out of his out of the windmill and greets everyone warmly. He interestingly enough, he gives she gives Morgana a hug, like a warm embrace of of good friends, which is something you've not really ever seen like magic users at all really ever. Most people keep the touching to a minimum, mainly because of the kind of potential for
stigma,
sparking and stuff. And genuinely, there's potential for magical effects to happen. And as you all kind of get there, and Malachi is starts talking, you just see him stop and look at you, Elias, and then look at Morgana and Ramiro and says, "You have to leave."
Oh shit. Yes. That's true. Yeah.
And then as you do that, Morgana is like, oh, I hadn't even considered that.
best get on.
Holgrim will be here soon.
Yeah.
I hate to ask this, but can you leave today? He's likely to be here this evening.
I mean, we were kind of hoping to rest a while, but I don't think it's worth the repercussions of staying.
There is so much more I would like to be able to talk to you all about. But it can't be helped. I'm needed here. Will you be taking the road through the forest?
Will we,
It's
James?
the fastest route.
Is it the fastest route? Well, I mean,
It's the fastest route, but it's not. People consider it to be not as safe.
Right. So
I ask
yeah.
Pierre, wherever you are.
Pierre actually has kind of been just pottering about in town, and you can find him quite easily. He kind of, when you shout Pierre into the air, he's like over looking at the cart. It looks like he's actually kind of on the side of it, sewing the hole up. And he kind of looks around and can't see anybody, and then kind of turns his head even further and can see you. And he's like, "Oh, you're back." And he kind of comes over to you and says, "Yes. What were you wanting?"
We need two things. Firstly, which route are we traveling? And secondly, we need to leave almost immediately.
Oh, I was hoping to stay a few more days. Why do we have to leave?
Because there'll be an order monk here by nightfall, and if they catch 4 magic users together at once, there's a very high chance that there'll be hell to pay.
Oh. Well, one of the problems with traveling with magic users, I suppose. Yes, yeah, we can leave. That's fine. Yes. I will go and ask this. Oh, the horses. We don't have any horses, alas. They all died when the stable was burnt down.
I wonder how
Remember?
that happened.
Who's to say? My Lady Morgana, we need to borrow these horses for longer. The ones we rode here on.
Take them, it's fine.
Thank you.
Oh, well, so thank you, lady. And he just kind of runs off.
Oh God, I've missed Pierre.
I haven't.
Yeah, neither have I.
He kind of just runs off to kind of start strapping stuff down and getting supplies from the inn and stuff, and just making preparations.
I do
So yeah, you
apologise,
said you can leave
guys,
today.
about having to leave in a hurry.
No skin off my nose.
Can I have snuck off for a second?
Yeah. No one really was talking to you. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
I sneak off.
What do?
I wonder where.
Just leave without her.
Yeah.
I wonder where Nyla's gone. Segway.
Oh well.
Doodle-doo, doodle-doo, doodle-doo. I want to see if White Swan's still here.
Oh, she's in the inn.
Okay, perfect. I will go to the inn then.
I mean, like, you find her in the inn when you're looking for her.
Okay, perfect.
What
I will
does
walk
my swan sound like? I've done a lot of voices this evening.
a little bit less soft than Morgana.
Yeah.
She's,
Yeah, kind of less breathy, Morgana.
yeah,
Less breathy. Okay, I have to make a
Sexy.
make a
Super
note of
sexy.
different levels of breathiness.
Breathiness.
yeah.
Is this the sort of thing you're thinking of? Is this
That's pretty much it.
bit of
Yeah,
it?
that's right.
Do.
Yeah.
The way Wise Swan speaks. I tried to do a little bit of almost pidgin English sometimes, because obviously she's like
Not
sort of
common.
not from round here.
It's not from round here.
You're not from
Not
around
from-
here.
Ah, Nyla, you're back.
Oh, you really know how to turn me on, Jack.
You're a traitor with the Rebel Alliance.
All right then.
All right,
Where
my
does
lover.
it go, Ed?
All right, my lover.
Cool,
Proper
you can find her
bar,
pretty,
Telby.
you can find her pretty easily.
Okay,
She is just sat by the fire, having a drink, eating some dinner.
I will sit down in a chair next to or opposite her, I guess.
Just opposite, like the other side of the room, like.
Oh, well, I'll sit in a chair, a
You
close
sit
chair.
next to it, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Nyla, it's nice to see you.
It's
Where have
good
you
to
been?
see you. Well, I would say an adventure, but it's more puzzle.
Oh, well.
I know you're not from here, and that you don't really. Oh, I don't know how much you know of our history, but I found a lot under the windmill. There's a big fancy room, and it's like
Yes, I
filled.
was with you when you found that.
Yeah, of course you were. Sorry. Anyway, we continued through that room, and we found a river that led us downstream to a giant elven graveyard full of ghosts. And I really don't know where I'm going with this. It was just more of I really need to vent to someone.
Wow. That was a lot.
Yeah, it is. And sorry, I didn't mean to pile on. We're leaving.
Oh.
Like
Yes.
immediately. Apparently, there's some law against 4 magic people being together. I'll shake my head. So-
Oh, yes. That's one of the few things I do know about this place. The
Well-
Rule of 3, they call it.
Well, 2 more magic people arrived back with us after we went down river, underground river, secret river. This is all. The more I say it, the more I realize we've been on a kind of weird helter-skelter ride. I don't know if they exist in this world, but they do now. So I just wanted. I knew you were leaving soon as well, but I just wanted to say I hope to see you on the road again. Maybe tell you more about what happened to us, because I assume we're going to have to leave pretty soon.
Well, I hope that we meet again as well. Is there somewhere I can look for you in the city when I arrive?
The only person I know that we're definitely going to in the city is a man called Tackets.
Tackets.
Yes,
I will look for him and ask him of your whereabouts.
thank you. As always, it's been a pleasure spending time with you.
And mine.
And I will stand up and then hurry back. And I will look.
As you,
I will
as
look
you
back.
kind of, as you go to leave.
Yeah.
She says, Nyla,
Yes.
you will understand one day. Of that I am sure. The answers are there, you must just seek them out.
I was hoping this mission was going to be simple and that I would be able to go home. But I'm just getting further away.
There is a saying amongst my people that the tree from which family grows is not made of wood. It is made of air. It doesn't really translate that well, but essentially it means home and family are not the place you're from or your blood. They are where your soul truly lives.
Thank you. That's actually very comforting.
Safe travels on the road.
Yes. I look forward to seeing you again. And I will walk to the door, and I will look back, and then I will walk through the door.
Can I just have it so that while all this is happening, Gary is in the background buying 2 kegs of beer? Because that's what I want to do, and I don't see you making a big song and dance about it. I just want to buy 2
You just make it happen.
kegs of beer. I'm just making it happen.
That's fine, yeah. I like the idea that because Nyla wandered off, you assume you were allowed to wander off as well, and you did. It's like, well, Nyla's not here, so I'm going to wander off as well.
How much money
And
did
you're
I
just like-
spend on the 2 kegs of beer? We're talking
Like
kegs.
when you say kegs, do you mean like barrels?
like barrels of beer, so we can take them on the road with us.
A decent sized keg will be like 4 or 5 silver each from this place.
So what? Gold piece for 2? How
Yeah.
many?
That'll do.
I'll tip them an extra gold because I'm
Ooh.
top bloke like that.
It's not good beer.
That's fine. It's Gary. You don't.
But
give
there's
two
a lot
shits.
of it.
Yeah, it's like this place is an army barracks. It's just basically something to keep people happy.
You know how you're a decent person, Mark, is that you have to tell people you're a decent person. That's how you know.
And yeah, I'll load it onto the caravan and just be ready to leave.
Cool. Grandall, anything you wanted to do before the hurried exit?
No, I think I'm good.
Cool.
Nothing springing to mind. So.
Elias, anything you wanted to talk to about anything you wanted to say to the 3 magic people before you leave?
Basically a magic conference.
I mean, I just want
it
to.
is a super illegal magic conference.
I know, god damn it.
I mean, I want to see if Morgana does want to give me any letters. I don't know if she's got anything pre-written.
Oh, she will have whilst you're making your like preparations to leave. She will give you something before you go. That will kind of like hastily written, sealed with a stamp. Very easily, you can see that the stamp she used, like the seal that she sealed the wax with, is the same seal as the seal that you recently received. The leafless tree with the roots.
Yeah. See, I wasn't going to say anything to her about that, but I mean,
But yeah, it's a little wad of letters, maybe like 10 letters with a ribbon around them. And she kind of just hands them to you as you are going out of the gate. And so you don't really notice the seal until you're on the road. I just thought I'd mention it now before I forgot.
fine. One thing I do want to do, Grandall.
Hey.
I want to give you something.
Okay.
I hand him the vial of that poison.
The super poison.
But before I
Cool.
hand it to you, I need you to promise me that you would only use this to protect the orb.
Right. In direst need only.
Do I have your
Agreed.
word? Okay.
You do.
Yeah, I'll give it to him.
You have the word of the family Hammerlock.
Yeah, I'll hand it over.
Yeah, I secrete that in my backpack. At some point soon, I'll figure out a way of making it so that I can. Actually, I don't need to. Sorry, I've got an ability called Quick Dose. So yeah, that's fine.
Out of character, what else is in the orb?
Nothing at the moment,
Okay, that's what I thought.
unless
That you know of.
unless something magically has appeared. When it closed up, it was empty.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I was like,
What actually happened was the orb melted and the box was left, and then the ghost had an orb and he dropped it.
Oh, so it's a different orb.
oh.
But,
Okay.
I mean, it looks the same.
I wasn't aware of that.
Because I was getting confused as to.
Like when I finished editing it together, when you listen back, that's what happened. Is the energy the orb melted into the ground, and the energy kind of dispersed out, and that's what rose. That was then the kind of the way I kind of hope that it came across is that the energy that the orb, the residue from the orb melting is what made the zombies come to life, and then the ghost appear, and then the ghost had an orb and a sword, and when you killed the ghost or destroyed the ghost, the orb it was holding fell to the floor.
Right.
And all of the zombies kind of fell as well. But for all intents and purposes, it is the same orb, as far as you can tell. At least you haven't really had a chance to properly look at it. But yeah, as far as you can tell, it's the same orb.
Okay.
Okay, so let me say again. There was one thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, before you leave, Elias, one thing that Mordecai and Morgana will say to you is that between them, not Mordecai, every fucking
Ramira.
no, Malachi.
Oh,
Malachi and Morgana will kind of say to you that they are going to make sure that the tunnels have a cave in, so that there's no way to get down there without considerable effort, just because they don't know what it was that you saw, but the elf and the dwarf looked concerned, so we're going to just leave that for them for now, and we'll talk about it more when we have a grip on what's going on with the Order. It's kind of their thought process. But they will let you know that before you leave.
Yeah, I mean, I'd tell Nyla and Grandall about that, because I think it's important to, probably more specifically Nyla, because she seemed more shook by it, that it was being taken seriously.
Fair enough.
I'm sure Grandall was affected by it, but he's a little bit more kind of.
Well, he certainly appreciates the fact that no one's going to be able to get in there and mess with anything, and because there is still that other room that we haven't looked in yet. The damp room.
So many unexplored paths.
Yeah. And we know that there's something magical in there, possibly generating water. So, yeah, I think leaving it bricked up is definitely for the best for now.
A magic tap.
Could solve all our problems.
That sounds like a kid's book, doesn't it? Grandall and the magic tap.
Jamie and the magic torch.
Grandall.
Grandall and the magic tap. I'll write it down in my book of Barathir stories.
We want another. That's more fan art that we want. Kids' storybook cover of Grandall and the magic tap.
So you flee into the night towards. Did you decide whether you were going the short way or the long way?
Well, I asked Pierre.
Yeah, he didn't answer.
Oh, he didn't answer. That's true. Well, as you kind of flee into the night, you'll kind of quite quickly come to a fork in the road. One way leads towards the woods around the base of Blind Eye Peak, the Sightless Woods. The other is. So I hope this makes sense. That is a good road through a forest. The other is a rough road, but not through the forest. So there's the shortcut is a shortcut because it's both shorter distance and a better road. The other one is like kind of off the track, that people who are really superstitious, like traders that are really superstitious, accept that they're going to add another 3 days to their journey and go the long way round.
I vote forest because I'm a forest girl.
You love some trees.
I love me some trees, but I don't worship them. Racist.
That's why I asked. That's why I
Also,
didn't
you don't believe in
assume.
curses, so you're not worried about this
No, I don't care about curses. Fuck
quote-unquote
curses.
evil mountain.
Yeah,
Well, you know,
it's a cool
I-
mountain.
I very much believe in curses, but given some of the shit we've seen recently, oh, it's a scary mountain. We're not going up the mountain. We're going near it. That's fine. Forest.
What?
Yeah.
Pierre, which way would you like to go?
I personally normally go the long way. but
Now, normally,
we are.
do you have security along with you?
I mean, what happened last time we took a shortcut?
We got there quicker.
It was
mean,
fine. We got there quicker. It was fine.
I
Look,
say it's not a shortcut. It's the way that you should go. The other way is the long cut.
let me
Well,
put
as
it
I
like
was going to
this.
say, I think I would normally go the longer way, but given what we've seen thus far and how well you've coped, it wasn't even during any of the battles that I lost my eye, and that was all my own doing. So I think you've done a good job. If you need to go the quicker way, then we can.
Well, let's go the quicker way. Otherwise, this is what you're spending the money on, Pierre, by hiring us. So, I look at Elias because it was nighttime. You said, didn't you?
Yeah, it's night time.
Yeah.
Stealing into the
Do you
dark.
think we should camp outside of the forest until dawn? Not that I'm scared, mind, but we'll go in there fresh tomorrow. Do you think?
I mean, we travelled most of the day on horseback. I feel like we should get a little way in so that we're heading off the main road and then find somewhere to camp.
All right.
Sound good?
Sure.
What do you-
Alright, let's do that.
You ready for this crow who everyone keeps forgetting is here?
It's not that we forget. We just don't care.
He's your boy.
It's my boy. I don't
Aye.
speak for Kroll though.
No, Jack does that. Apparently, he's just a very quiet man. Don't know why I did
Mad
that in
dog.
my character
Oh.
accent.
Old Mad Dog. He's so quiet. That's what you love about Mad Dogs is they're so quiet.
Yeah, he's there.
He exists.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up.
Good work,
Um,
Kroll. It's nice having you around, mate.
Right.
Duh.
So yeah, you kind of go into the horses, despite having ridden all day, are actually much better shape than the ones you had before, because they
Nice.
haven't travelled much longer distance. So they're quite happy. And Pierre actually managed to sell quite a lot of his goods to the fort. So there's a lot more space in the wagon. So you've managed to hitch a couple of the horses up to the wagon, and it's almost like being pulled by a team of horses. And there's obviously Elias, and so at least two people need to be in the wagon for that to happen, because they're not like cart horses; they're like riding horses that are pulling a wagon. If that makes sense. So I kind of imagine it almost like kind of what are they called? Like the stagecoaches. That's almost how I imagine you riding into this dark forest.
With like a team of horses.
Like a team of horses, and Pierre
Yeah.
with a long whip,
Yeah.
lashing them,
Oh, don't be
Um,
the horses, Pierre, you dick.
no, cracking the air.
No, I know. They're fantasy horses.
They're fantasy horses. It's fine. They like it. They're
Oh,
into it.
I'd
I
quite
mean,
like
low fantasy horses.
so fantasy horses. I'd quite like to be in the back of the wagon with the bear. That's okay.
I'll be riding.
Cool.
I'll be riding a horse.
Yep, that's fine. So you make your way into this forest, and Nyla, as soon as you get into the forest, you cannot see clearly like it's daytime anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, as soon as you get into the forest, you cannot see clearly in the dark anymore. None of you can.
Oh, well, like night
You can
vision.
see as far as the torchlight shines.
Regular boring vision.
Oh, we should go back. We're not responsible.
Well, I
Can't
think we should
see
wait
in the
till
dark.
morning. We should wait till morning.
Pierre,
we
obviously.
not have a choice.
Pierre, Elias, are you the one riding, like, kind of controlling the horses, or is it Pierre?
Oh, I mean, I'm in the
It's normally Elias.
with.
It normally
Pierre.
is Elias,
Yeah.
to be honest. Because you obviously don't notice the difference.
No. This is how
so
I see
assume, like,
regularly.
normally, yeah. So you've kind of got the torchlight at the front of the front of the cart, and you kind of probably travel in a little ways into the forest, and you find it's a dense forest. This road goes through it. It's a really good road. Like it's hard packed earth, and after not too long, you find like a stopping place. Where some of more of the trees have been cut away from the sides of the road, but other than in this like stopping place where there's almost like a little glade, like almost been created, the trees are like really, really dense. It's like a dense alpine forest you're riding through. Not alpine. Is alpine the right word?
Well, like
Eventually.
evergreen trees or deciduous?
Yeah. No,
Fir
evergreens.
trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alpine.
Yeah, it is an alpine forest then, yeah. And the other thing you'll notice as well is that it's cold. The wind just blows down this road. Like, it seems to be just coming down from the north, and it's much colder in this forest than it was out of it. You can make camp for the night. Are you setting a watch?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is the order of the watch, please?
I will go
Oh.
last.
I'll go first.
I'll go second.
I'll go second.
Oh.
Damn it.
Rochambeau for it.
What about Mad Dog?
I'll go third. I don't mind.
I don't mind. So I'll go second, you go third. Elias goes fourth.
There are five
Nyla
of
goes
us.
first.
Carl.
What do you want to do, Krull?
I
Oh,
only,
whatever you want.
I need to do 6 hours, so I can do whatever's left.
I only need to do 6 hours. I
Oh,
can
look
feel
at you stealing my thing.
it. Aye. I mean, having your thing given to me, but whatever.
Steal it. Me.
Nyla, you're fine. This is a forest. You're at home. Bear sits with you for your watch. The woods are quiet, like really quiet. You have
Too
to really
quiet.
strain to hear. Not too quiet. You have to really
Oh.
strain to hear the kind of woodland creatures in the undergrowth, and a couple of times you do hear the faint cries of an owl. Thank you.
Thank you. Totally worked out.
But
Suitably faint, I like it.
but other than that, your watch goes uneventfully.
What a boring watch, thinks Nyla.
Who
That's
was
your-
second?
Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, your watch starts off. It's a bit weird for you. It was weird for Nyla as well, but she felt more at home in the forest. But it's a bit weird for you because you've not really been in this kind of forest before. It's a little bit kind of spooky. You've kind of probably been a bit freaked out by all the talk of curses, and it's really weird for you not being able to see in the dark.
Yeah.
Like that's probably not the most comfortable thing in the world, like having really good dark vision and then not being able to see. And I think that probably means that you're a bit jumpier than normal because of the when there's like rustling in the underbrush.
Okay.
But other than a couple of little false alarms with like a mouse running through the camp that you didn't see until like it was running past you, or kind of a bird fluttering through and casting a shadow. It was relatively uneventful, and you kind of managed to calm yourself down and get some decent sleep once you come off your watch.
Okay.
passing the torch, as it were, to Grandall. Kind of the same for you, Grandall. It's weird not having dark vision. Like, something about this wood is weird, and obviously is messing with you. As a firm believer in curses, and someone who knows for a fact that this place is cursed, because everyone said so, you can't shake that feeling of, like, should I be spending time here, really? But as you said before, actually, what's the alternative? What it can't be worse than what we've already been through. So,
yeah, it's gonna be more of it, if anything.
Exactly. And again, your watch also goes calmly. Elias is last, I believe. And your watch starts off. Actually, just before we do that, Grandall, can you give me a percentile, please?
Yeah. One of them. That is 61.
Okay. You don't dream.
Okay.
Elias, you kind of take over. You've had your sleep, and you awake now. So you're probably just going to be sat, relaxing, waiting for the others to have finished resting. And as the sun begins to come up, you begin to notice something odd about the forest around you. The trees around the clearing are gouged across by what looks like talons or claws of some kind. There are like big raking marks across them.
I mean, that seems fairly normal.
That's fine.
The reason why this is particularly unusual, you think, is they look really fresh. Like the wood that's revealed is still kind of really pale and new. You know what I mean? When you have like an old looking tree that's been
it's not oxidized.
slashed at. It's not oxidized.
Sappy,
Yeah.
It's sappy.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of is the only thing that you see, and that kind of sparks your concern, if you can call it that. But it does seem a bit weird, frankly. You can give me animal lore if you have that.
I do not. Is there an animal law?
Yeah, there is
Wilderness.
a
wilderness
an
law.
animal law, and I do have it.
I thought you had all of them.
I have all of them apart from wilderness, apparently.
Oh, okay.
It is an 8, which is exactly what I need for a great success.
Nice.
Yeah, this is a bear, maybe?
Okay, all right. See, that was going to be my question of like how big of an animal.
Oh, like bear,
Right.
like bear-sized, probably.
I'm a little bit less worried now because I was thinking in my head much bigger.
Bear the tiger or bear the animal?
Bear and animal.
Okay.
Yeah, I was imagining much bigger as well.
Tiger the bear.
Like
Tiger the bear.
talon
Oh no, I'm
size,
talking
kind
like
of.
I'm talking like okay. I say bear. I'm talking like dire bear.
Oh.
That's very different, Jack.
Yeah, I
Like-
mean, yeah.
They're big. They look like a bear has scratched it, but they're big. Like I was meaning more like the type of scratches look like. Sorry, I didn't realize you were going down the size route.
Do I? Can I tell at which direction the creature was traveling? Only because of the
That would
direction of
probably
the
be
swipe.
wilderness law.
What did you give me?
I gave you an animal
What was
law,
that check?
and it was a great success.
That was animal law. Okay, I'm gonna go with.
Because the way
You
like
don't
the
know
wood
what direction it
splinters
was
out,
going in.
so obviously it's going to splinter away from the force.
So you can see that it was they're not all the same. Like it looks like something's just gone berserk in the center of them and just scratched randomly in different directions.
Right. Does it look like there was a kerfuffle?
Give me perception.
That is a 3. That's a great success.
There is one tree that is different from the others. And that has got a different kind of chunk out of it. It's a much bigger, singular scratch that goes like across it, and it's much higher up as well. And with that additional bit of information, that you think maybe this isn't a bear so much as an owl bear. Because that looks like a beak mark.
Okay.
Hoorah.
But it would be bigger owlbear than you've ever heard of.
Talking like 10, 12 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't feel the need to wake anyone up just yet, but I'm going to be extra vigilant in my watch. I mean, I'm guessing since Nyla and Grandall don't need the same amount of sleep as everyone else, they'll probably wake up earlier anyway.
They'll wake up, yeah. They will, yeah.
I mean, I'll relay this information the moment they're awake.
Nyla was on first watch, so she'll wake up pretty much halfway through your watch.
It's me, Nyla. So I've gone very silly all of a sudden. What's wrong with me?
Past 10 o'clock about 8 minutes ago, is it?
Oh god, yeah. It's the point where I turn into a pumpkin.
Silly pumpkin.
And all pumpkins sound like Mario.
Yeah, they're all Italian, but like stereotypically Italian. Well, I don't know my full name.
But do you know her last name?
Of
Dude.
the forest.
No. Lies.
Worshipper of trees.
Tree worshipper, yeah.
No! Fuck! Racist!
So yeah, you see these as well, Nyla, and you corroborate Elias's theories that this is probably an owlbear.
How worried would Nyla be at this information?
Owlbears are probably one of the nastiest things that you have in the Elven Forest.
Yeah.
They're like super dangerous to come up against.
They
almost always come in pairs, like because they mate for life.
That's
cool.
Aww.
They're so romantic, these malicious, horrible owlbears that kill people.
They're not malicious, just so much as bad-tempered.
These grumpy owlbears.
They are.
The grumpy owlbears come in pairs.
That's what people say about John.
My new book. What?
He's a grumpy Albert.
Yeah, he's not malicious. He's just bad tempered.
Just bad tempered. Oh. Oh. I will yet again be vigilant with Elias. Double the eyes, double the chance of seeing grumpy owlbears.
I just think as we travel today, I think we should just keep moving, keep quiet. Yeah.
As you're packing down the camp, well, everybody else wakes up eventually, and as you're packing down the camp, Nyla, because you're probably looking for it, to be honest, you actually notice there's a pretty fresh owlbear track, quite centrally in the camp. Like you made camp essentially around this, either around this or it was made after you made camp, which seems unlikely because you know.
I hope we would have seen it
or heard it, but yeah, there's owlbear tracks all around this clearing.
We should probably move very quickly away from this place. Can I see which direction they came from and are going?
Give me a wilderness law.
I can do that, she says, not confidently. Windowless. Windowless?
That was your thing.
A windowless law.
Windowless law. That's a 3, so a great success.
Yeah. So you reckon they came through the forest, out of the woods, and there was some sort of kerfuffle, and then they went across the road.
Why did the owlbear cross the road?
Because of the kerfuffle.
A weapons-based kerfuffle.
Is
That's the question.
Is that the way? That's not the way we're heading, Jack, is it?
No, you're going down the road.
Okay, that's fine. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the forest in the daylight is a little less spooky, but the forest in the daylight is kind of only the road is clear. Like if you were to step into the trees, it's like it's nighttime again.
Okay.
Like the road is murky and grey. Like you can see there's no clouds in the sky. You can see the clear blue sky, but it's like it's through a fog or like a filter almost. Like the light just isn't making its way to you the way it should.
On account of the curse.
I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say, is this a natural phenomenon that I would have experienced, Jack?
Never in your
Nah.
life have you ever heard of something like this. It is the sightless wood.